Alice. Welcome back to Reclaiming Our Roots. This is Tanya, and I wanted to bring you all along. I am about to prune my tomato plants. As you can see, I've allowed them to get away from me. This is by far the longest I have ever gone in the history of my gardening practices that I've allowed my tomatoes to go this long without pruning them. So without further ado, I'm just going to get in and start pruning. But before I do, just want to give you a little background on the practice of pruning. The purpose of pruning is to free up airflow so that air can circulate throughout the plant, and it prevents mildew and not so much blight, but it can prevent blight. You want to keep your leaves as airflow, and you want to also prune to prevent your leaves from touching the soil, because that's where it can contract diseases and things like that, and it can travel up the stem, and it can further infect the rest of the remaining plant. So let me get in here, and what I'm doing is any leaves that are touching the soil, I'm removing those. I generally like to have a foot from the base of the soil, the top of the soil, about a foot up on the tomato plant, free of stems. So you may not be able to see much. Let me prune this, but before I prune this, I want to show you what this is. This is a sucker plant right here in the armpit here. That's a sucker plant, and it does just that. It sucks the energy out of this plant. And another benefit, one of the major benefits of pruning your tomato plants is because you want your tomato plant to focus on growing, opposed to growing leaves. You want it to grow blossoms so that you can yield more fruit. I'm going to remove this one and this one. Get all the plant stems here. Again, I'm going to get in there and remove the sucker along with the stem. Again, sucker. Here's the sucker. Here's the stem. I'm going to remove that. And all this down here, obviously, is turnips. So as you can see from here on up, I have pruned that plant. And you don't want to over prune it. I mean, you don't want to put the plant in shock, right? So I'm pleased with this plant. There's enough airflow, and none of the stems are touching the soil. All right, so let's move on to the next one. Again, I like to start from the bottom up and just remove stems, remove suckers, the stem. I'm going to remove this one as well. Okay, this one looks pretty good. Plenty of airflow. And you see what I'm talking about? I generally like to leave about a foot. Right, you see that? Of pruned plant. And then you can allow it to bush out, but even then, you still want to be conscientious to remove suckers like this one, because you want your plant to focus on producing more fruit. I'm not interested in having a bunch of leaves, because when you allow it to go unpruned, that's exactly what your plant is doing. It's producing a bushy plant. And we want this, not a lot of that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Prune. This one looks like it's about to break. And you want to be careful, because you do not want to remove any stems that have flowers on them, because that's your fruit, right? So here, I'll prune here, remove the sucker here. And you can take those suckers and you can plant them and put them in a container of water, and they will root out. On to the next plant. Again, same practice. Start at the bottom, just removing these stems so that they do not touch the soil. See that sucker plant? can place that in water and it'll produce another tomato plant. See that sucker plant in there? I'll just remove that one. I'll leave the stem. Now you don't want to over prune, like I said, because you don't want to put your plant in shock. And you want to leave some leaves on there for photosynthesis. But I'm pleased with that one. And here's the big mama over here. Oh my gosh, look at that. Again, you always want to look and make sure there aren't any stems in here, and there are. See that? I do not want to prune that because those are some tomatoes. It's going to be grown off of that vine. Remove this one. Again, you definitely want to remove that. See how that one's touching the stool? You see the browning and things like that? You want to remove this. Okay? You want to remove it. This one here, definitely want to remove. It's getting a little thicker, and bushier up this way. I'll remove this one. This one can come out. This one can come out. You want to be gentle. You don't want to damage your plant. While pruning, this one can come out. Take this one off as well. What do we have up here? This one can come out. This one can come out. Oops. Snap that one off. This out. Looks pretty good. It's a lot better than when it started. Alright, I have like 5 or 6 more plants to do. I'll come back once they're all done so you can see it before and after. Okay, I'm back, and you can see this is everything that was pruned from all of my tomato plants in the garden, which is a substantial amount. And you can see this one. Look at that girl. She's lean and fit. Look at that one. I think I may have overdone it with this one, but you get the point. So I freed up airflow. Again, the purpose of pruning, you want your plant to focus on fruit production, not growing a ton of leaves, to free up airflow, right? So that the plant can breathe, and so it does not breed disease due to moisture entrapped in the leaves. And here's a here. You can see how to prune that one. This one here, I'm going to stake this one up because this one has fruit on that one, buds. So yeah, you just want to keep them nice and neat. Maybe not as extreme as this. Some people don't prune their tomatoes at all. Now, if you have these are indeterminate varieties. Indeterminate varieties can grow as tall as this house. I mean, that may be a bit of exaggeration, but they grow really tall. That's why they're called indeterminate. They do not have a determined set height. Okay, either death or disease or frost will take the plant, one of the two, but it'll continuously grow. Now, if you have a determinate variety, which grows to a determined height, it will present all of its fruit at one time, and then a plant will die. Unlike indeterminate varieties, which are the ones that I have in my garden and the ones that I prefer, they will produce fruit throughout the growing season. Okay, you can see a clear difference. I should have showed you all this actually before I pruned it, but oh well. But you get the point. Okay, and I have some more here. You can see this one here. Looks good. Looks good. So now that's going to free up the plant to focus on fruit production. Because I was like, oh my gosh, I have all of these beautiful blossoms. My plant should be starting to set fruit by now. But look at all that. It was focused on growing leaves. and not fruit production. So I'll come back in about 2 weeks. These plants should be loaded with fruit, and you'll see the production. Okay. Now, if you have a compost pile, I would put those in a compost pile. I'm going to take these back to that area that I showed you all the time, that little common area that I use and that I'm using as a unorthodox garden of sorts. And I'm going to drop those back there. But if you have leaves that have disease on them, you do not want to put them in your compost bin because you do not want to contaminate your future soil. So you either burn them, trash them, but remove them from your property. Okay, guys, that's it. I will be back this week because we do have a potato harvest coming up. The potatoes are ready. Well, six of the 10 containers are ready. The other 4 still have about another, I want to say about another 2 weeks before I pull those out. Okay, guys, until the next video, peace and bless. Okay, guys, I'm back here at the common area. As you can see over there, I dumped my tomato plants there, leaves there. And since I'm back here, I said, let me give you all an update on the squash that I planted a couple of weeks ago. As you can see, we have growth. I may come back here and add some more soil. And I haven't fed them since they've been out here. So, hit them with some amendments and space them out a little bit. But I don't see why these won't grow and thrive and produce us some fruit. So, this will be put up as a short. I'm not going to waste the time in trying to upload it as a video. So I just wanted you all to see the update on the unorthodox garden. Until the next video, peace and bliss.